You're welcome to another video. My name is Tolani Akintayo, and in this particular video, I'll be breaking down every line of code in this Terraform file, right? So basically, this is a Terraform provider block, right? When you're writing Terraform code. Terraform, by the way, is written in Archicad configuration language, that's HCL. And the main purpose of Terraform is basically infrastructure as a code to help you to provision your infrastructure with code rather than clicking, the console, um, which is very error prone. But using Terraform, you can systematically provision your infrastructure and you can make it repeatable, you can minimize error, and things can be very, very, very uh, repetitive. When I mean repetitive, I mean another person can use the code. So very quickly, let's look at every line of code here. This is a Terraform provider block, right? So in this particular block, and this block is very, very fundamental to basically writing Terraform code to doing anything. So the first thing here is Terraform. You can see the Terraform block. It opens here, it closes here, and this language is actually very easy, right? So in this Terraform block, uh, this, the block opens here, the block closes here, and what we have inside it is the required version. So in this particular required version, we are saying that the required version of Terraform that we want to use to provision our infrastructure, right, is this, and is 1.9.0. And you could see the sign in the front. It means that the required version for Terraform in this configuration it should be equal to 1.90 or greater than. It means that if you have it means that 1.90 upwards can work for this particular code. Anything downwards will not work, right? And that's very simple. So if you look into the file, you see that we have the required providers. So what this means, right, is that fine, you want to use Terraform to provision infrastructure. So what Terraform is asking for, what you are basically putting into this place is saying that these are the required provider that I want Terraform to use to communicate, right, to the platform. So in this case, you have AWS. So it means that I'm configuring a provider for AWS because I want to provision infrastructure in AWS, right? And providers are very, very awesome, right? What they do is they're basically binaries that help you to be able to communicate with the API of AWS in this context. You can have for Azure, GCP, a lot, of even more than cloud providers you can do for different third-party tools. Terraform is very, very cloud agnostic. It works for different platforms. That is why it's the most popular. So, like I was saying, in this context, we are saying that the required provider we're trying to add now Terraform block is AWS, and the reason is because definitely you want to communicate with the API of AWS so that we can communicate and create infrastructure on it, right? Depending on what you want to do. So that is why we have AWS specified here, and inside that AWS block, we are saying we are specifying the source and the version. So let me explain what that means. The source means that where exactly are you where exactly are you going to get this provider, right? The required provider is AWS, but what is the source of this provider? Where are we going to get the provider from, right? It's just very, very basic, right? Where is it coming from? It's just the same way you can go on GitHub and you can clone a particular repository, you know, that repository is as a source is in AWS, right? Is in GitHub, right? So in this place we are saying HashiCorp/AWS, and this code, this HashiCorp AWS can be found in the Terraform registry. If you go to the Terraform registry, you will find it there, right? It's a provider that Terraform manages, right? And Terraform has a wonderful community that manages it, and they update it from time to time. So it's there. So we are saying that the source is in the Terraform registry, so that when we run our Terraform apply and all of that Terraform plan, it will basically install and download that provider because we need it Terraform needs it to be able to communicate with AWS and provision infrastructure. And the last thing we have here is a version. So what the version means is that we're saying this is a specific version for you use this is specific version for AWS, and that is basically what it means. I hope this has been able to help you. And yeah, see you in the next video.